We have Mike back, so whenever you want to go, Jim.
Okay, I'd like to call the July 15th, 2025 ADA committee meeting to order. And I'd like to maybe first go around the room with introductions and then the online people.
I'm Debbie Lane. I'm a board member.
Abigail Dolan, Program Manager of the BID.
Good afternoon, Chair. Chris Brink, Community Development Director.
Hello, Chair. Ann Pichette. I am the Housing Coordinator and the ADA Coordinator. And welcome, Mike, to your first meeting. I'll have some stuff I'll send you after this meeting just to make sure you have all the materials that the rest of the board members do to get you started.
And I'm April Sparks, admin for the Community Development Department, and we can go online now.
Jim Whaley, Chair of the committee.
For the last time.
That's so sad.
Jacob.
Jacob Krasovich. I'm also a board member representing the disabled community.
And Mike.
Mike Bassett, recreational therapist at the Fort Harrison VA. Been rec therapist for almost 9 years now. Happy to be part of the committee. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for volunteering.
Okay, the first order of business is the ADA and any complaints or concerns since our last meeting. April?
Well, I will give this to Ann.
Okay.
Really, we did not receive any complaints. There is on the website a copy of the report that there were no complaints in the time frame from the last report until now. And just as a side note, might I note that we will need to vote on the minutes as well.
Okay, thank you. And the next item on the agenda is the land use plan update. Chris?
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. As a point of order, Chair, did you want to go back and do the minutes first, or we can do that later if you would like?
Oh, we could do it. Well, we can't act on the minutes because we don't have a quorum. Is that correct?
We do have a quorum.
We
We have
do?
4 members present. So we should be good to go.
Okay. Are there any comments on the previous meeting?
It was very short.
Do I would move to approve the minutes as written. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing no opposition, the minutes are accepted.
Sorry. Jim, we actually have both Bobby and Commissioner Reed online as well. So I'm getting them promoted to panelist right now.
Okay.
Hi, sorry for the delay. I was not a panelist and my camera doesn't work, but nice to see you all and apologies for not chiming in earlier.
Sorry about that, Commissioner Reed. It gets a little chaotic sometimes watching all the screens.
Totally understand. No worries at all.
So Chair Whaley, if you want to proceed.
Excuse me?
If you want to proceed to the next item.
Yes, I would say we'd go on to the land use plan. Chris?
Thank you, Chair Whaley and members of the committee. I'm going to share my screen so you can see the presentation. All right, so we'll dive into it. I do want to let everybody know this isn't a presentation on a full land use plan. That would take quite some time, probably an hour or so for me to go page by page, chapter by chapter. But this presentation is intended to give a high-level overview of a little bit about the project itself, some of the planning processes that we undertook. We'll talk about the plan document itself and how it's constructed. And then I'll talk about next steps and how the public and members of this committee and others can weigh in on the draft plan that is out there for public review. So again, not enough time to go through the entire plan, but I'll highlight some key points. We do ask that since we're not given a full update on the plan itself, that you do go to our project website. Please read the document. If you need some accommodations to read the text draft, we've tried to make it as accommodating as we can, but we may have missed some. So if you need accommodations for that text, let us know. We'll get that to you. And then on our project website is also a memo form, so you can provide comment. We do ask that you, if you have comment, highlight the chapter and highlight the page where your comment comes from. If it's general comment, that is a fantastic draft land use plan that you would recommend that we approve it, please do that too. A lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of investment went into creating this draft for the citizens of Helena. So again, just the agenda for today that I mentioned just earlier. So about the project. So this is about an 18-month process that we're culminating with a public engagement adoption later this fall. But what is the plan itself? This plan, as all land use plans, as well as our previous growth policy, helped identify community desires, needs, and aspirations. We did that through the visioning process at the beginning of the plan process back last summer. This document is used to assess the city's existing issues and strengths. Again, some of that was gleaned from the visioning process earlier in the project, as well as the analysis that the consultant and staff did relative to data and topics and elements that are part of the plan. This land use plan is intended to guide a broad range of topics or policy. Typically, you hear this called a comprehensive plan. It is comprehensive, but it is also broad. It's a dynamic document, so it's not intended to be static. We intend to maintain it. We envision at least every 3 or 4 years, maybe even sooner, depending on our growth, our growth over the next couple of years, that it may be updated every couple of years, just so we can do a deeper analysis of some data that we're seeing relative to our growth. And the whole process allows the city, when I mean the city, staff, city leadership, elected officials, and our citizens to engage in the drafting of this document. So we have a very in-depth, very robust public engagement process that we've employed. We've tried to stick to it, but we've done some things beyond what we even intended to be minimum engagement opportunities. But the process allows us to engage in the drafting of this plan. Why is this plan important? Well, it tells our story and our history, and it shares the city vision. If you notice on our city logo or our land use plan logo, Helena Forward, History, Opportunity, Legacy. Part of this plan tells our story or our history, which lays a foundation for laying out some groundwork for opportunities and setting a legacy for future generations. This plan evaluates and informs development proposals. We use this as dictated by state statute to provide the analysis or the data that we use to analyze development of proposals, either it be zone changes or subdivision approvals. It's the foundation for our regulatory framework, which is our subdivision regulations and our zoning ordinances. It also is used to coordinate local and regional initiatives, support the CIP and the budgeting process. It helps us identify future studies, kind of like the growth policy did. It laid out the opportunity for us to do neighborhood planning or sub-area plans, which we've done. Being a recommendation moving forward. Well, I know it is. It's in the plan. So it's going to identify other areas in the city for us to work on and study. Then we use it to inform and educate the community on various topics within the community as outlined in the elements and the chapters of the plan. So what about our previous plans? City of Helena has fortunately had a long storied history relative to planning, and we champion that and we celebrate that. So we don't overlook that. We actually looked at all of our existing planning documents, either be it our growth policy or current long-range transportation plan, a couple of our new neighborhood plans like the railroad in downtown. We've gone back and visited the ADA transition plan, parks, recreation master plan, and some of our urban renewal plans relative to the downtown, Capitol Hill, and the 6th Ward or Railroad District, as well as we've looked at some open land management plans. So any plan that the city has done, we've reviewed it, we've analyzed it, we've looked at what recommendations in those plans are no longer relative, and what in those plans should be carried forward. And we've tried to include those that are valid and still applicable in this plan as well. So I mentioned this has been about an 18-month process. This started back in March of last year. And the scope of work that we laid out for our consultant team was to establish where we are today, define where we want to go, and establish a roadmap where to get there. It began with a kickoff and series of meetings back last summer. We've included a public project website and some mapping tools. Again, I mentioned a very robust public engagement process, visioning workshop that we had last summer, at the end of last summer. And then we're going to wrap it up this fall with the last step, which is draft and finalize land use plan and have a big, hopefully well-attended community open house to present the plan in its full entirety to the citizens. So I mentioned we're at the last stage of the planning process, and that's establishing the roadmap, which is the actual drafting of the final land use plan. And that really lays out the vision and the goals for the next planning horizon, which is the next 20 years, is what our horizon is for this planning process. So public engagement, I mentioned again, and I'll keep mentioning that we've had a very robust public engagement process. I won't go through all these numbers and what they represent, but we've essentially had almost 1,200 engagement connections through this process, either it be one-on-one discussions, talks and interactions at the farmers market or our community visioning workshop, in-person meetings with meetings kind of like this. We've also had a map.social project where individuals could go to a map, place on the map areas of interest, areas that need to be addressed, areas of concern. So all said and done, we've had about 1,200 engagement connections since we started this process, and that number continues to grow. So these numbers were captured back February, March of this past year, and we continue to have public engagement even beyond our initial visioning process at the beginning. So the nuts and bolts of the draft plan overview. And again, like I mentioned, not intended to go in depth. There's just not enough time for us to do that. But plan context, it is made up of 11 chapters. You see those on the screen. The first three are broken out to provide really plan context in outlining the vision and goals for the city. 4 through 10 are the required elements that MCA and the Land Use Planning Act requires us to evaluate. And then the last chapter, chapter 11, is the implementation section of the plan that really lays out opportunities for funding implementation. And then at the conclusion of the summer, we'll actually have an implementation matrix that really lays out in depth and in detail what particular items of implementation we can anticipate, with either be it short-term, medium range, or long-range implementation, who's going to be responsible for that implementation, and perhaps a target for that implementation, either it be a year or a quarter, or what that looks like. We're not really sure. We're going to let the public process play out this summer to really dive into the implementation stage. At the conclusion of my presentation, Chair, and members of the committee, I'll give an update beyond what's going to happen beyond the Helena Forward Land Use Plan process. So there's things afoot relative to implementation and establishing some tools. But I'll mention that briefly at the end. Plan framework. So the first 3 chapters kind of sets the stage, or is the foundation, so to speak, for the planning process. We introduce the plan. We provide some community context, history, where the city of Helena is now. We provide some demographic snapshots, some updates, and some info on our community outreach and public engagement. We lay out what the vision and goals are drafted in the plan, and then we provide an anticipated future land use map as part of the foundation. So vision and goals. So I won't read these verbatim because I'm afraid that this may take quite some time. But through the public engagement process and community vision workshop that we had through last summer, and really since the beginning of the plan process, when we started talking to community members and one-on-one meetings with key stakeholders within the city of Helena and the public, we crafted some vision and goals for the plan and for the city. A vision statement, we outlined some guiding principles. Those guiding principles, the key words being in our Helena Forward logo, history, opportunity, and legacy. And then what the city strives to achieve. Won't read those all verbatim. We encourage you to read those. But I've been doing this for quite some time, and this is the most in-depth, most thought through, most thoughtful process that we've had to create a vision and goals section. And I really like what was drafted here, what the consultant put on paper, but really these 3 components were driven by public comment. Staff didn't write these, the consultant didn't write these. These came from input, direct input from the public. So outside of the foundation of the plan, the first 3 chapters, some core chapters and elements, and these are outlined in the Land Use Planning Act. These are the chapters that we must analyze and deal with from land use, housing, neighborhoods, economic development, community facilities and public services, parks, open space and natural resources, and cultural resources and placemaking. Those again are laid out by MCA. And again, don't have time to go through all those. I've picked out a couple key elements for us to talk about that is relative to the work of the ADA Compliance Committee. But I do encourage again to go through and read each one of these chapters, as well as the entire plan. So the first element is land use and development. Here we established a future land use plan for the city. And this really, all intents and purposes, shows what should be built or developed and where in the next 20 years in the city of Helena. It lays out residential land use, either mixed use, downtown development, commercial. We've included a new category called technology and innovation, medical care and healthcare, or the medical arts, industrial, public and semi-public, parks, open space, and then utilities and transportation. Those are some of the key land uses that we've shown on the land use plan. In many cases, future land use looks very similar to the existing land use map that the city has. Some key changes and some analysis. It's not going to be static. It's not going to be completely the same. But we want to provide some other opportunities in other areas of the city and recognize some constraints from land use that some locations in the city have. Like I mentioned, some new land use categories, the medical and technology and innovation are some two key new land use categories that we've included from a future land use standpoint. So the first chapter that I'll highlight out of the many is the transportation and mobility chapter. Helena's transportation goals, there, as you can see right there on the left or the right of the screen, really prioritize creating a multimodal system that supports walking, biking, public transit, and vehicle travel, with a key focus on human-centric transportation. Really, that's designing streets and infrastructure to serve people, not just cars. We really want to be people-centric, not car-centric. Car-centric is what created urban sprawl. We want to encourage dense, condensed development that really relies on personal mode of transportation, public transportation, human-centric transportation, as opposed to having to get in your car and go somewhere. The plan emphasizes easy and equitable access to neighborhoods, community services, employment centers, and recreation centers. And efforts relative to recommendations will focus on making roadways and intersections safer and more efficient for all users, regardless of age, ability, and mode of travel. Transportation and the mobility chapter really stresses importance of the complete streets policy that the city of Helena has and design standards for new developments. It recognizes city's efforts in implementing the complete streets policy and following PROWAG guidelines, and recommends that the city continues down this path. It's been successful, and we see value in continuing those policies. Transportation mobility also focuses on the city's effort to extend active transportation infrastructure for both residents and visitors, emphasizes accessible bike and pedestrian facilities, prioritizes pedestrian and bike traffic connections between neighborhoods and key destinations like schools, parks, the downtown, and the Capitol complex, identifies gaps in bike and pedestrian infrastructure, stresses importance of complete streets, like I mentioned, and our design standards for new developments, supports a tiered approach to bike lane investments, including multi-use trails, conventional lanes, buffered lanes, protected bike lanes. Those concepts there are shown on the right on this chapter. Encourage investments in signage, striping, and dedicated bike lanes, and supports a long-term vision of low-stress, multimodal network that serves all ages and all ability needs. This chapter also talks about sidewalk improvements and network gaps. We recognize there's sidewalk gaps that exist in Helena in various areas of the city. Many older neighborhoods lack complete sidewalk networks, making pedestrian travel unpredictable and unsafe. ADA accessibility still remains a challenge. As much as we try, it's still a challenge, which limits mobility for people with all disabilities. Improving sidewalk and ADA infrastructure would enhance safety, expand access, and reduce dependence on motorized travel. Some key recommendations to improve connectivity: utilize priority routes from the LRTP. And we anticipate the updated LRTP that's going through the process now will continue to prioritize routes to enhance bike and pedestrian access, complete and expand Centennial Trail, align city standards with land use plan goals for consistent, accessible infrastructure. Again, prioritize ADA compliant upgrades across the city, and then partner with advocacy groups to support inclusive bikeway development within the city of Helena, and promote safe, active travel through better use of existing trail systems that we have in the city. So the next one that I'll touch on is the Parks, Open Space, and Natural Resources chapter. And this focuses on contributing the conservation and stewardship of the city's open lands, air, natural resources, and it really serves as a model for sustainability and resilience to our sister cities and communities in Montana. We hope. I think we're leaders in this realm, in my opinion, and we're hoping this plan kind of highlights how active we are in this realm, and continue to support the city's network of trails and open spaces, and finding opportunities to increase and secure recreational access for all. Helena recognizes the importance of ensuring equitable access to parks. That is essential to fostering a healthy and well-connected community. In that improving connectivity through new paths through the city will make it safer for all. Utilizing the city's parks and trail network and enhancing park and trail quality and usability. We recognize that is of high importance, and gaining facilities and inadequate ADA accessibility can and does limit inclusivity in our community. We want to make sure all of our sites, open space parks and trails, are accessible to all. Some key goals in our Parks, Open Space, and Natural Resources chapter. We look to expand opportunities that are suitable for more inclusive park spaces. Working with stakeholders to identify and plan to address barriers to park and recreational facility access. As I mentioned, we hope this plan drives the need for future planning, more detailed planning relative to topics, this being one. We really need to look at some of the barriers that we have as a city to some of our parks and recreational facilities. And then expand on the existing accessible trails that we have within Helena Open Lands and expand those and grow those within the city. So the last chapter is implementation, and this really is what it says. This is a chapter where we lay out the next steps relative to implementation. So all the visioning statements, all the goals and objectives are great when they're written down, but they really don't mean anything if we don't move forward with trying to implement those goals and objectives. And that's what this chapter is going to do. It's not going to create the tools. This document is not an ordinance. It's not a set of statutory guidelines. It's not regulation, but it does set the foundation and basis for those tools that we have that we can use to implement some of the goals and objectives, or all the goals and objectives that are in the plan. And we hope that planning horizon within 20 years that we will meet every single goal and objective that's in the document. This chapter lays out finding potential funding sources to meet implementation, anticipated implementation. What are the responsible city departments and partners, either it be city, the county, some of our neighboring jurisdictions like East Helena, state of Montana, and any federal agencies, as well as our nonprofits that we may need to reach out and rely on to help accomplish some of our goals and objectives that we've laid out in the plan. Again, like I've mentioned, this document is meant to be a guiding planning document to really guide decisions and public investments in the city. It should help city staff and elected officials and partner organizations. We hope they use the plan as a primary reference when we evaluate projects and infrastructure. The plan is a living document, as I mentioned earlier, and we're going to regularly update it at least 2 to 3 years, if not sooner. Hopefully not longer. Hopefully we're growing and improving at a rapid pace that we need to keep going back and revisiting the plan yearly, just to make sure it's still in line with the goals and objectives that we've laid out. And it should help guide financial decisions relative to capital improvements that are made to the city, relative to, say, creation of parks and open space, perhaps utility improvements, either it be public water, sewer, stormwater, and then really help some of our private partners, like private utilities, help them plan for long-term improvements relative to serving their customers in future development, as we see it from a land use standpoint, where that is going in the city as well. So not only for the public to use it, or for the city of Helena and our policymakers, but also private utilities and businesses to use it to plan for their success of their organizations as well. So, Chair, I know that was quick. I would like to just offer comments or opportunity for questions now, if there are any. If not, I do have some other, probably 3 or 4 slides after this, but I'll break, give a chance for me to catch my breath if anybody's got any questions so far.
Jacob Krisovich.
Chair, committee member Jake, yes, go ahead.
All right. So I haven't got a chance to look at the document yet, but I'm going to, now that I know it's out there, I'm going to take a look at it this weekend. But so forgive my ignorance, but when it comes to the goals and objectives, are they more broad goals and objectives, or are they measurable goals and objectives that have like a something that can be measured in terms of we want to accomplish this within 5 years, or is it just we want to accomplish this by the 20-year mark?
Thank you, Chair and Committee Member Krisovich. So we try to do both, recognizing that if you set targets or deadlines for goals and objectives, it could look to be as a failure if you don't meet that particular deadline. So we try to be as aspirational as possible, but still as detailed and precise relative to schedule as possible, so that we can measure success by reaching that goal and objective. That's where the implementation chapter really comes into. That's where we're going to go back and look at the goals and objectives and actually set a target for implementation of that. So the goals and objectives themselves, we try not to be as focused and targeted relative to when we want to do that. We try to leave that up to the implementation chapter.
So Chris, this is Jim. What do you see as some of the higher priorities for implementation, just as this document is developed? I'm sure this isn't the final answer, but just what are you seeing as things that really have kind of risen to the top of the priorities to implement?
Thank you, Chair Whaley. So I'll leave some of that to the end, because you're stealing my thunder. So I don't want to say too much right now until I go through all my slides. But we do recognize some things that are of utmost urgency for us to tackle immediately. And some of that is born out of the Montana Land Use Planning Act as well. Some things that we have to focus on. And if you've noticed in our plan, and maybe not what I presented today, but if you look at the document itself, there's some elements in that document, housing, for instance, there's no mystery. That's a challenge, right? That is one of the reasons why the Land Use Planning Act was born back in 2023, was to really help us tackle our housing issue. So that's going to be one of the key components. But there's some tools that are going to have to be crafted first, and I'll mention that at the end. But really, housing, where we're going to put everybody, and I'll say this, and I don't remember exactly the page. It's in the land or in the housing chapter. But one of the aspects that we were to look at and analyze in depth was housing. What our housing projection is for the next 20 years. And can the city accommodate that housing projection, either it being within existing city limits, in our case, in the urban service boundary, or are we going to have to look beyond any existing boundaries that we've employed to provide housing and services for our public? So we've identified that the city of Helena is going to grow to about 45,000 people by 2045. And that analysis has borne out that we can accommodate those additional 10,000 residents within the current boundaries of the city limits. Looking at our urban services boundary, that can accommodate another 75,000 individuals. So if we built out in the next 20 years within the USB, which for anybody, I know I'm probably speaking foreign to some, but it is a boundary that the city has that we really don't anticipate expanding city services beyond this boundary. If we developed within that boundary in the next 20 years, we could accommodate approximately 120,000 individuals. Way beyond what a projection is. I don't anticipate us growing beyond the anticipated 45,000 in the next 20 years, which can be accommodated in the city. So that being, I just want to demonstrate the importance and some of those that we're going to be looking at immediately, and that's how do we address the housing needs? Where are those housing? Where's that housing going to go? And then more importantly, and I'll touch on it at the end, what tools we're going to be working on phase 3 or phase 2 of this whole big project. Hopefully I answered everybody's questions. I know that a lot of word type stuff, but I'll mention next steps, key components or next steps here in just a minute.
Okay, are there any other questions for Chris?
Not at this time, thank you.
All right, so I'll go on to next steps. So what are our next steps in this planning process? So I alluded to it at the beginning of the presentation. So we're at the final stage of the planning process, and that's the drafting and finalizing the land use plan and getting that through the adoption process. So right now, during the summer, we are in the throes of hopefully a real robust public comment period where city staff are going out to organizations by request and providing this typical boilerplate presentation that we've given today with some tweaks relative to the audience, and present the plan to everybody. But we're asking for final comments on our draft plan by the end of August, with an open house sometime in mid-September. We have a date set. We're finalizing location and some logistics before we let the public know what that particular date is. But it will be the third week in September for a big community open house. And then we're hoping to get the draft plan before the Planning Commission for a recommendation, and then City Commission, Planning Commission 1st of October, and then the Planning Commission 1st of October, city commission at the end of October. That's important because that really tees up next steps with the Montana Land Use Planning Act that was adopted in 23. We have a May 26th, 2026, or May 2026 deadline to be fully compliant with the Montana Land Use Planning Act. That includes this land use plan process. It also includes a revisit and rewrite, if needed, of our zoning ordinances and a revisit and rewrite, if needed, of our subdivision regulations. So right now we're at the adoption process, the drafting adoption process of the land use plan. You'll notice here on the screen there's a QR code, and we'll make sure you get a direct link, hyperlink to this QR code as well. But really, this just points to our project landing page for Fort Helena. That is that houses the actual draft of the land use plan, all 109 pages, as well as a comment memo that you can provide comment on the draft document. So that concludes my update on the land use plan and the land use planning process and where we are now. So next steps beyond the land use plan process, we are in the middle of, and many thanks to the city commission for helping us fund it, even though we've got a pro-housing grant through HUD and through Department of Commerce to help us fund the next phase of it, of this process, is the revisiting and drafting of our zoning and subdivision regulations. So we're in the process of revising the contract with our current contractor, Halcyon Levine, to revisit our zoning and subdivision regulations. That is going to be about a 2-year process. And we anticipate that public engagement process will be more robust than even this land use plan process, because it is a tool that really affects everybody, right? So we want to make sure that that is a really robust engagement process. So that's going to kick off hopefully before this land use plan process concludes, with some background work, some analysis. Again, it's going to be about a 2-year process, but as I mentioned, we have a May 26th deadline to be fully implemented with Senate Bill 382 or the Montana Land Use Planning Act. So the first part of so phase 1 of our zoning and subdivision regulation review will be making sure or analyzing what we have now to see how far off we are from meeting the requirements of that act, and then making some adjustments prior to May of 26 to get us in compliance, minimum compliance with that act. After we are fully compliant with Senate Bill 382 by May of 26, we will continue with a more robust review and really a rethink of how Helena does zoning and subdivision regulation review moving forward. We recognize that Helena has an opportunity to do something different, something unique, something forward thinking. I mean, it's in our logo, right? So really revisit how we do development, how we do zoning, how we segregate uses within the city, how we allow mixed uses. We really don't know what it's going to look like. We're hoping the public helps us drive what that final tool looks like. But that's going to kick off here shortly, and that'll take about 2 years. But the first phase will be making sure we're compliant with Senate Bill 382, because we have to do that. But we feel fairly confident, outside of a few tweaks relative to process, that we meet all the objectives of the act. We're right now 90% compliant with the act. There are just some processes we need to tweak. But we look forward to really seeing what kind of tool the staff, the citizens, and the consultant can come up with that will really guide the next 20 years of development until we have to go back and revisit some of our land use policies and processes moving forward. So that's the big next step. Commissioner or Chair Whaley is looking at revamping our tools that we use to implement our goals and objectives in the plan.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That was a very comprehensive presentation, a lot of material in a very short time. I appreciate it. Are there any public comments on anything?
I am
Seeing-
great.
Next thing I'd like to do is talk about next meeting. Excuse me. Is there any agenda items for the next meeting? April, do you have any ideas? Or
You know, I am not aware of any agenda items for the next meeting, which would be September. Anne, are you aware of any?
I haven't received any comments from any board members suggesting anything, but I do see that Commissioner Reed has her hand raised. Maybe she has a topic or public comment.
Thank you so
Commissioner Reed?
much. I was wondering if we could get a code enforcement update. I know we had talked about having that as a standing item, so it would be great if we could have that at the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay.
And along those lines, pardon me if I'm mistaken, but were we not supposed to have an update on that this meeting? Wasn't that what we discussed the previous meeting?
Chair Whaley and Member Jacob, I will have to double check the notes. I think we had a brief update from staff about code that was I think transportation related at the last meeting. So this meeting was going to be about the land use plan, and making sure that everyone on this committee knows they have an opportunity for public comment and can help spread the word to your friends and neighbors to also be giving public comment. But we can coordinate and see what kind of updates there are, be able to give some type of report at the next meeting.
That would be lovely. Thank you.
I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Well-
I don't have anything else on the agenda. Does anybody else have anything to add?
Debbie.
I think our last complaint was about the parking lot here, and I haven't heard anything
So
about.
I think the last complaint that we received was about the golf carts at the golf.
Oh, that's
yeah,
right,
golf
they were
course.
gonna,
Chair Whaley, I do have an update on that if you would like that.
Yeah, I would.
Sorry, I didn't have it as a specific item on the agenda. The update on just to catch up our newer members. There was a complaint about the accessibility of golf carts at the municipal golf course. They have ordered it. The timeline they've been given to receive that is sometime at the end of the summer. That's the most recent update I got about a week and a half ago or so. So they're still waiting on it to be delivered to the golf course. But once it's there, I suspect people will know before we have a meeting, but I will make sure that the board knows, the committee knows, once it's there and available, as everyone was a part of that. But for now, it's on order. They're expecting to have it delivered sometime late summer, to then be available for the public.
Okay, if we could have that on the agenda item as well, I'd appreciate it.
We will make note of that. And as far as the parking lot, we have to talk to LAU Troy about that.
yeah, cause I thought it was supposed to happen before now.
Yeah, we'll have to talk to the people who were involved in that previously, to see what's going on there.
Okay,
Yes.
May I suggest an agenda item for next meeting? I would love to hear feedback on downtown events for the summer on what worked and what didn't work if you attend an event, because by September, all the events would have happened. And so any feedback would be great because they're already starting to plan the next year, and I would love to bring that feedback to them directly. Like Reader's Alley Summer Series to 10 Mile, Live on the Gulch, Alive at 5, the block parties, farmers market, the whole shebang.
Okay,
Oh, sorry, my name is Abigail Dolan. Is that what you need? Okay.
I was just wondering if you'd like the comments to come directly to you.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll be at the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
If it's helpful, Chair Whaley, following this meeting, I can send out an email to everybody that has the direct link to our draft plan that Director Brink talked about, but I can also send you all links so that anyone who wasn't at the last meeting when Abigail presented and asked for comments about the safety plan and downtown plan for events, I'll send those links out too, if that would be helpful for everyone to have those direct. And then you'll have her contact if you want to communicate prior to the next meeting.
I would appreciate that. Is there anything else that anybody wants to raise at this meeting? If not, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you real quick about sending out that direct link. That would be very much appreciated. And I move that we adjourn.
Second.
So moved. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
to
you.
everybody for attending.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.